Welcome to this session on hosting a STEM family event. My name is Natasha Wilkerson. I'm a co-founder of Vivify STEM, and I work as the STEM director for a nonprofit in San Antonio, where I organize STEM programming and competitions throughout the city. Right before the pandemic, I supported over 40 elementary, middle, and high school campuses to organize STEM family nights that reached over 10,000 families. In this session, I'm going to give you all my tips and tricks from how to select activities to market your event, so you can organize your own amazing STEM family night to wow your students and families. If you're worried about in-person programming, I will cover the ins and outs of hosting an all-virtual STEM event. Let's get started. What exactly is a STEM night? Well, when run in person, families work together to complete hands-on science, engineering, and math activities, designing a bird feeder, guessing objects under a microscope, painting a mural with robots, or extracting DNA from strawberries. These activities make connections to exciting science and engineering careers and real-world events. So when I run a STEM night, here are some key components I include. Wide range of stations. You want to feature different subjects, careers, real-world connections. I use teachers and community volunteers to run the stations and provide families with a STEM passport that features all the different activities. When completing a station, students get a stamp, and a certain number of stamps get redeemed for a prize. But why should you even host a STEM family night? So for all different school functions, the priority is you gotta get your school admin on board. So here's what I tell principals. We can engage the entire school in an evening of academics that gets our students excited about math and science. Our STEM nights can even increase parent engagement. And in my experience, if you have the right incentives and plan around parent schedules, you can attract huge crowds that don't usually attend school functions. But we'll talk about marketing in a second. The main message is that parents will have a chance to learn right alongside their kids and take home strategies to keep the learning going at home. And if your admin cares about standards, which they all do, you can emphasize that activities will be aligned to math and science standards. And then talk about how you can bring in local STEM professionals and engage with local companies to support the event. In my experience, these connections sometimes even lead to greater engagement, such as mentoring, classroom speakers, and even donations. But before I go into more details, let's take a look at some of my past in-person STEM family nights in action.
Natasha, here. Let's do a quick thing real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me who you are and what you're doing here tonight.
I'm Natasha Wilkerson. I'm the STEM director with Communities and Schools, and we're hosting a STEM family night at Leal Middle School. It's really chaotic, but really awesome. We've got students building lava lamps. They're doing a space docking activity. We just launched some model rockets outside. So the goal of tonight is have fun with science and engineering.
Why is it important?
Set, go.
Oh no!
To host a STEM family event at your campus, I'm going to walk you through 5 basic steps. Get support, determine date and location, select activities, market event, and host your event. I'm going to cover these steps for an in-person event, and then we'll walk you through a virtual format. So first, let's get support. When running an in-person event, it's a big undertaking and requires support from school admin and teachers. There's two types of support you're going to need: planning and day of event. First is your planning support team. I recommend forming a planning committee with other teachers. I like to start with science and math department chairs because when they see the value of the event, it makes it much easier to recruit other teachers. I also recommend forming the planning committee about 2 to 3 months prior to the event, and then they will help you complete the remaining steps to prepare for the big day. Another critical part of your logistics support is custodial staff. They're always a huge part of my events, including setting up the space and post-event cleanup. They also appreciate being asked to approve the final setup plan, especially if they need to move bleachers or set up tables. And you've got to leave a thank you gift at the end of the night. I like to do pizza and cookies. The second type of event support you need are volunteers for the day of. They're going to be running the stations, managing the welcome table, and other day of logistics. So you get buy-in from those teachers. I like to provide them the list of stations and let them pick the ones they wanted to support. This way they get excited about the activities, take ownership, and then add their own spin to it. Another place to get volunteers are from the local community. Since a STEM event is usually in the evening, I found that professionals or college students are more likely to be available. Plus, they love to be a part of hands-on activities and engage with both students and parents. But how do you recruit these volunteers? Some places to look include your local engineering companies. If you have universities with science and engineering departments, they might be able to provide students to support the activities. Local chapters of a STEM society, perhaps the American Society of Engineering Education, Society of Women Engineers, Society of Mechanical Engineers. These also tend to have university chapters that include an outreach committee. Another great source of volunteers are high school students. I'd like to reach out to the local high school STEM club, such as robotics. They might even bring in a demonstration or volunteer at a station. So now that you have all the support you need, let's move to step 2. Setting a date and location for your STEM family night. It's going to depend on your school culture, your family engagement. But in general, a STEM night runs about 1 to 2 hours and is a come and go event during after school hours. When making a plan, consider these questions. Is transportation an issue for students? If students leave, will they come back for an evening event? You may consider an activity such as a STEM movie or speaker right after school for students before the STEM night is open to families. This will keep them engaged instead of leaving campus never to come back. What other activities happen after school? Tutoring, sports, band practice? Will you provide food? Does this replace dinner? By the way, food's always a great incentive, and I'm going to go over that in a second. When are teachers available? Do you want to encourage participation for the whole night with a raffle at the end? Will the event be come and go, or will families move through stations at timed intervals? Keeping these questions in mind, here's the schedule that I use for my STEM family nights. So we do it as an evening event. We start setting up at 3 o'clock. 4:15, we might bring in a STEM speaker. 5 o'clock is the come and go event where families complete passports and redeem them for food. 6:30, the stations close, we continue to give out food, and then the event ends at 7. Another important part of planning is selecting your location. A large open space, such as a cafeteria or gym, is a great place to host the majority of activities. However, using multiple locations, library, classrooms, hallways, can also work. The event will feel like a scavenger hunt to participants as they use the STEM passport to find the stations. The downside is managing the flow of participants and keeping control. Other things to consider when picking a space. Will the activities have enough space for the participants? How will the participants flow through the different activities? Are you going to need to block off hallways, post signs? Are you going to have enough volunteers throughout? You might want to think about the main entry points of the school, where you should put a welcome area so you can pass out those passports and direct families. Also consider adding extra seating areas and refreshments. And don't forget trash. Make sure there's lots of trash cans nearby. So now you have date and location, but what are you actually going to do? So step 3, choose your STEM activities. This is the fun part. Choose activities in advance to generate excitement and allow station volunteers time to read over that activity guide. Plan for about 5 to 8 stations depending on your expected participation and number of volunteers. A diverse selection of activities is needed to cater to a wide range of student interest, or you might plan activities around a central theme such as space or careers. Ensure there are enough activities to avoid long lines of stations, and make sure there's a plan to accommodate a large group of participants at once. Here are my general recommendations for what's appropriate for a STEM night station. I like simple activities to be under 15 minutes. Too much longer, you're going to lose their attention. Make them accessible. Students and families are going to bring their younger and older siblings, or maybe grandparents and aunts. So I try to make stations accessible and interesting to all ages. Hands-on. Each station should ideally have the opportunity to design, build something, conduct an experiment, complete a calculation. In other words, stations are engaging and hands-on versus requiring a lot of reading and listening. Easy on materials. This one's for you. You want to keep stations with a short list of readily available materials. I also like to have a few stations that have reusable supplies such as robots or iPads, so I don't have a fear of running out of materials. Because no matter how much slime I buy, we always run out at the slime station. Finally, being inclusive. Try to include a wide range of topics to cater to a lot of different interests. But here's what not to do with stations. Don't do talks or presentations the whole night. You can start with a kickoff, but like I mentioned earlier, that's to kick off your event. Keep it short and then get them engaged with the activities. When you bring in companies, they can have a display, but make sure it has a hands-on component. And don't make activities overly time-consuming because they're going to lose interest. The purpose of a STEM night, honestly, is to bring excitement, showcase lots of activities, and let them move quickly through these, and then do the more extensive STEM challenges in a classroom station. All right, so to jumpstart your STEM family night planning, I'm going to give you some of my favorite STEM night stations. We use a mix of engineering design, science experiments, math activities, programming and robotics game, and team building challenges. So here are some examples. The Microscope Mystery Station. This is a science station where students look under a microscope and try to guess what's on the slide. Amazon has some great inexpensive USB microscopes and slide sets that I've linked in the handout. For team building, my go-to is space docking. Students have to work in a team to lower a ball that represents their astronauts. The ball has to dock to another ring that represents the ISS. Heart rate math. This is my favorite math activity where families measure their heart rate before and after doing increasingly more difficult exercises like jumping jacks and sprints. This is where I also get coaches involved, and then families will graph the results of their heart rate. For engineering, our straw rockets are a staple at every event. I found these from Pittsco, and families compete on who can launch the farthest rocket. Now, these launchers are a little pricey, but I use them over and over again. For technology, if you have iPads or other tablets, I recommend a virtual coloring station using the Quiver app. Students choose a coloring page centered around a STEM topic, rockets, parts of a cell. After coloring, they use the free Quiver app to bring the drawing to life with augmented reality. It even includes interactive features where students can zoom into drawings, click on different parts, or learn more, even play a trivia game. In the handout, I've provided a few links to blog posts where I go further into detail on more of my favorite STEM family night activities. Some include painting with robots, and I even have a forensic science station. Okay, so now let's get to step 4, marketing your event. Incentives. These are a huge part of promoting a family night. For example, you can provide refreshments as an incentive for attending. You can reward families with a food ticket when they complete a number of stations. Popular options are a bag of popcorn, a slushie, or a slice of pizza. I usually go with 3 at least to get that food ticket. If you have the budget, I've also seen schools bring in a slushie truck. Students loved it. But a cheaper alternative is having raffle prizes. Participants can receive raffle tickets for each completed station, or they can turn in part of their completed passport at the end of the evening. For raffle prizes, I've done 3D printing pens, STEM posters, telescopes, quadcopters, sphero robots, tickets to a local museum, and gift cards. I always try to have one big prize so I can use it for marketing the event. An additional option for incentives is providing extra credit. This is often added in addition to others provided during the event and a great way for teachers to encourage students to attend. So once you have these incentives figured out, you gotta start getting the word out. So publicizing the event usually happens through school websites, flyers, phone calls, and announcements. I like having teachers talk it up during class. They may even wish to have a STEM lesson the day of the event for a school-wide STEM day. Another idea is to combine the event with a student showcase. Provide space for teachers to feature student projects during the event. You can also make this a competition where families vote on their favorite projects. And for marketing, include a time frame and list some of those activities or the showcase that's going to happen. You may also want to invite local media. Your choice of incentives, such as a cool raffle prize or a fun station like slime, are a great way to get interest and attendance. So now let's do our final step, hosting your event. In running your event, you'll need to consider the following. Create a STEM passport, prepare station activities, organize volunteers. Here's an example of your STEM passport. You can see the various stations of the locations listed, and I've left some room to add a stamp or a sticker when the student completes the activities. The passport also includes the raffle ticket to be redeemed for refreshments. For the station activities, I recruit student organizations such as NJHS to help prepare materials. I also make sure that each station has a large display sign with the station name, ink pad, and stamps, and a trash can because it'll get messy. Finally, for volunteers, here are some key roles to cover. You need a volunteer manager. They'll have the map of stations and all the assignments to make sure everyone knows where to go and what to do. A welcome ambassador. They sit at the sign-in table and direct families. A photographer. The event didn't happen if you don't get proof. A food manager. People get grumpy when the lemonade is empty, so I always assign someone or students to help manage a refreshment station, refilling water, lemonade coolers, passing out snacks. And that's it. Those are the major components of running your very own STEM family event. Here are the steps I follow when hosting a virtual STEM event. First, you want to select that activity. This should be something with commonly available materials found at home. I prefer families use recycled materials versus sending home a kit of supplies. So for a roller coaster or bird feeder or zip line, they can just use recycled materials. I also like to do one activity for the entire school to participate. And this is a good option if you want to make it a competition for a top design, but you could also do a different activity per grade or give options for different activities for families to choose. Now you need a digital platform. I love Flipgrid for hosting the event, so I put an instructional video for the activity and then families can easily upload a video of their designs. Here's an example of a Flipgrid board from a previous event.
Are you ready? Let's get started.
Mi nombre es Isabela y este es mi casa.
Next, you'll think about length. How long do you want to provide families to submit their designs? A longer event may decrease motivation, while a short event may not give you enough time for participants due to conflicts. I like doing 2 to 3 days for families to complete the STEM challenge and then conclude with a big finale event via Zoom webinar. I also want to have incentives, and when I'm marketing, I always talk about having a live STEM night career chat that includes interviewing a STEM professional, followed by a raffle prize drawing for anyone who participated. Entries into the raffle come from families that upload videos to Flipgrid. So when marketing, I make sure to highlight the STEM guest, cool raffle prizes, and any other incentives I can provide, such as homework passes. And then when hosting the event, here's my timeline. I send home a flyer with activity instructions, including the Flipgrid code. Families watch the instructional video that includes science and career connections, posted on Flipgrid or on YouTube. Families complete the engineering challenge using materials found at home. Then families upload the video of the project to Flipgrid or other platform you choose. Participants are then entered in a raffle for a STEM prize, and we close with that big career chat at the end, announce the raffle winners, and I like to show a highlights video featuring the top design submissions. If you're looking to plan your own virtual STEM event, I encourage you to check out our STEM Space at Home series. These videos are freely available on the Vivify STEM website, and they have an engineer who walks your students through each of the activities. They're also available with Spanish subtitles and closed captioning. Each video features a design challenge, like a rocketry, space lander, that aligns with science connections, real-world connections, and a STEM career highlight, along with our step-by-step instructions. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope you now have the confidence to host your very own STEM family event. Once again, I'm Natasha Wilkerson, co-founder of Vivify STEM. You can reach us at info@vivifystem.com, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok. We hope to connect with you soon.